pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first thing on the agenda today, we asked the new Community Housing Fund Advisory Board to join us. And Liz, well, I think we appointed you chairperson to that committee. So if you could come, you want to sit down with us or you want to stand?
I
Whatever you...
can stand up here. I have a little.
Okay.
I have a little presentation to give on the proposed law.
Yep.
So just first up, there's some slides that are gonna come up. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna run you guys through it. So what I did is what you'll see is so just to kind of ground us in it, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put up the legal language. It's going to be on the white in case you are not sure about my interpretations of it. And then on the blue, I've tried to put it into like some kind of plain speak.
And before you start, just so the public understands,
Mhm.
this is the mandated committee that we had to form for the pending legislation in November for the housing fund.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, I guess what I would start is, yeah, we're just going to jump right into the law. So this is the Peconic Bay Region Community Housing Act, and I'm going to give an overview of the proposed law. I did want to just mention that this is just about establishing the fund. I do have some information that we're going to talk about with the tax, but that's going to be mostly for a later date. But I will do a brief overview because I'm definitely interested in that. Okay, so the first thing to know is what is the intent? This is to establish a fund. This fund is going to hold any money set aside for community housing. So it could hold the money from the proposed transfer tax. And it could also hold any other monies. We're going to kind of get into what those could be. The money that is set into this fund can only be used in line with a housing plan that the town will develop with community input. So money in here can't just be used willy-nilly. It has to be used in line with our housing plan. Okay, so I'm going to move you to the next one. So you can kind of see, I put the legislative intent there. And then just to kind of make sure that we're all on the same page, I've put up some definitions. Again, when you look through this, we'll also post this. It has the whole body of the law is in here. Okay. So when I talk about the board, I mean the Community Housing Fund Advisory Board. When I talk about the fund, I mean the Community Housing Fund. When we talk about a first-time home buyer, I mean someone who's just buying their first primary residence. The plan, talking about the community housing plan that we're going to develop, and the primary residential property, just exactly what you think. All right, but just so that we all have the same language. Mm-hmm. All right, so the next page, we're going to talk about more definitions. Now, I thought this was actually pretty interesting. So this is in the body of the law, and this got a little legalese. So I wanted to just do a little bit of translation. So when we talk about community housing, we actually have some caps set on that. So one of the things that I thought was very interesting when we're referring to community housing, that there are actually some limits put on this. And it is actually going to be just shy of $1 million is the most it could possibly cost. Now, I can't imagine that's really creating $1 million houses, but that's the most we could possibly do. And so again, this is going to be posted, but I have cited the link to kind of where I got that number from. The same for eligible individual. So that would be folks that would be eligible for this community housing. And there is an income cap there as well. And that is going to be at about $125,000 for a 1 or 2 person household, and about $146,000 for a three plus. Again, my sources are cited there on the very Anyway, it's in there. All right, so cool. So those are the definitions. So when we're talking about community housing, when we're talking about eligible individuals, those are things, that's what we're referencing. So let's get into the meat of it, funding the actual fund. So where does the money come from for this fund? It could come from the transfer tax that we're looking at. It's going to be on the referendum. It could come from bonds. It could come from town funds. It could come from the profit of any sales or any rentals that we create with community housing. It could be gifts, and it could be state or federal grants. Okay. The other thing to know is any interest that we have in the fund has to stay within the fund. So pretty standard stuff. And again, you can kind of look at the legalese if you are unsure about my interpretation. So now I am going to take you to the next slide. Now, this is not technically part of the law, but if you get an accountant to present on something, you are going to always get the math. So if you could put up the next slide. I wanted to, oh, I don't know if you have the most updated one with the transfer tax. It's the green slide.
So Liz, we would need this fund whether the legislation goes through or not.
Yeah, so this is regardless of, so we could use this, we're going to need to set this up anyway, to be as a repository for housing money. Obviously, if the transfer tax goes through, this is where it will live, right? But it's something that we're going to need anyway. And I think it's actually a great check and balance, because then we can really earmark or set aside intentionally money that we want to have for community housing. And then we also set it up so that any money expended has to be in kind of service of the housing plan. It can't just be willy-nilly. And that housing plan is something that we're obviously going to get, we've talked about we're getting a consultant in to help us kind of put it together. But it's something that the community is actually really going to help develop. So I feel like that just seems right? So then we're only ever spending money for community housing with something that the community has approved and has had a lot of input into. So it just kind of formalizes it.
Hey, Jerry, can I just jump in on that?
Sure.
All right, yeah, so the only way we could put the transfer tax up for referendum is if we have this fund, because the transfer tax monies cannot be commingled with any other monies. It needs to be in a fund dedicated just for community housing. That's why that's why this is a predicate for the transfer tax. So it's just clean and streamlined, and we have a dedicated town fund for that. So that's the purpose here. And I'll let Liz continue. She's doing a wonderful job.
Oh, okay. I sent one this morning. Okay. All right. Well, I guess.
Hang on, I've got it.
Okay.
I'll forward
Sorry.
it to you,
I feel like
Christine.
the tax part is actually the most interesting part.
It's
So I was just like,
You
I'm
would.
sorry, like-
I agree with her.
So thanks for just hanging out with me.
All right, I'll do some filler if I can.
Okay.
So there was a little bit of misinformation out there. A lot of people thought that the community housing plan was needed for the transfer tax to be on the ballot for referendum. That is untrue. It's the fund. Pursuant to the legislation, it's the fund. So we would not be able to put the transfer tax on the ballot unless we have this fund. So that's why it's so important.
Yeah.
Now, the plan is going to be in connection, and Liz is going to get to the plan, but it's part and parcel of
It's the
this
green one.
community housing fund proposed law.
Yay. Okay, cool.
Green for money.
Green for money, right? All right, cool. So
Christina,
this,
can you take that over there? Oh, you did. Never mind.
all right, cool. So I think that the really important thing is just to look at how this plays out, right? So I'm a tax accountant. So usually I know that when folks say tax, everyone loses their mind a little bit. So let's look at what are we actually talking about? Like, how does it actually play out? So So we're going to look at, I've kind of got a bunch of different examples of sales prices for house and what the transfer tax would be. So if we sold a property for 500,000 currently, right now, our transfer tax would be 5,000. And if the legislation goes through, if we pass the referendum, what it's going to look like, it's actually going to lower. So what you'll notice here as you see this is for properties that have sale prices under $1 million, the transfer tax is actually going to go down because we've actually upped the exemption limit. So it is obviously going to go up for those properties over $1 million. And just some kind of takeaways, you know, they're going to pay less transfer tax under $1 million. Let's see, 1/3 of homes on the FPP less transfer. So about Fred Thiel's office has done some number crunching. About 1/3 of homes will actually pay less tax, even with the 2.5 as opposed to the 2 under the new law. And an additional 1/3 of homes would just pay an additional $5,000. So it's not super, I mean, it is obviously an additional tax, but it's not going to affect, I don't know, a lot of like the middle and working class folks. So I think that that's really important just to keep in mind, just the actual math. We'll be presenting on the actual getting kind of deep into the tax at another time, but I just wanted to kind of bring this up so everybody has it fresh in their mind. Okay, so this is one of the proposed funding sources.
Liz,
Yes.
the people on Zoom are having trouble because you keep turning to face the audience and then you're moving away from the mic.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, I will stay forward. Try to stay on point. All right. I just get excited about it, so I apologize. Okay, so let's go to the fund purpose. So that's the next slide. So we've talked about how the money is going to get into the fund. And then let's talk about some things that we could do do with the monies in the fund. Now, these are all potentialities. And again, the housing plan that we're going to develop together is going to call out what's appropriate for our community and kind of the ratios and kind of where we want to focus, right? So we're going to do that as a town. So this is some of the stuff that we can use. We can help first-time home buyers. We can, so people who live or work in the town. So this is the help for the first-time home buyers. So it has to be people that live or work in the town. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
not fair housing. It's, they're buying their own house.
Yeah, and we can't,
Okay.
yeah, and it can't be assistance more than 50% of the home price. If it's a loan from the town, it has to be repaid to the town.
Would that be the fund or would that be, we paid to the fund?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but you couldn't have it like to like a third part. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
People do all sorts of wild things. That this is like a very straightforward financing situation. Any assistance provided by the town would lower the assessed value of the property. And any money from a loan goes back into the fund. So back to your question. And then you could also use this in a public-private partnership. So again, this is all going to be figuring out, these are all the options of things we can do. And then we'll work together to figure out what's appropriate for us as an island. Okay, next one. We got more stuff. Cool. All right. So the other things that we could do with housing fund money is we could construct community housing for sale. We could also construct community housing with a public-private partnership for sale. We could construct and maintain rental community housing. We could convert existing structures in the community for sale or for rent. We could purchase existing housing units to use as community housing, be that for rent or for sale. And finally, we can provide housing counseling services. So helping folks get into homes. So oftentimes that'll take like credit counseling and budgeting, stuff like that. So again, we would figure out together in our housing plan, which ones are right for us. All right. So next slide, we're going to talk about eligible expenses. Okay. So kind of reiterating the other slide, this fund can be used for buying land, construction, planning, engineering, and kind of all the related costs. Any profit from the sale, the rent, the repayment of loans has to go back in the fund, right? So this is a separate, discrete vehicle only for community housing. Can't be used for other things. And there's an advisory board. That's what I've been up to. So we have the CPF board. We will be reviewing and making recommendations regarding the town's housing plan. So there's kind of more to come with that as we're working on it. Okay. Great. Neat. Okay. So let's get into the plan. So before the town spends any money from the fund, a housing plan must be developed and adopted by the town board. It should include a couple things. Public investment, minimizing any social, economic, and environmental costs. So we want it to be good holistically for the town, for the people, for the environment, for our economy. 2, development, build in areas where it makes sense for transportation, for sewer, for water. 3, keep in mind conservation. And 4, coordination, working with neighboring communities to make sure that our plans are efficient and cost effective. We don't want to double up on work. There's a bunch of folks on the East End who are doing the same thing. So how can we work together so our money will go as far as it possibly can? Okay. More plans. All right, cool. So this is some of my favorite stuff. Community design, centering people in considering any plan. Transportation, try to reduce individual autos, cars, and pollution. Consistency, following building and land use codes. And probably number 8, probably my favorite, community collaboration, working to develop a long-term plan with community input and participation. Right? That's probably the thing I'm most excited for in this plan. All right, let's talk a little bit more. Next slide. Oh, there we go. Perfect. The plan will be updated every 5 years, be added to the comprehensive plan update, ensure perpetual affordability. I think this is a really important one. I'm glad to see it part of this. And 4, ensure that housing opportunities are provided in a fair manner to everyone. Village participation, we can participate or not. This is, I'm just going to tell you, this is kind of, the next 2 slides are a little bit of legal mumbo jumbo. So you can skip this one. So basically, if any part of it is, what did he say? If any part of it is found to be in violation of code, the rest of it still stands, right? But you're happy to read it. Like I said, we'll post it and you can decide what you think of my interpretation. And finally, the purpose of this local law is to amend the town code to establish a community housing fund. The monies deposited are going to be used solely for community housing opportunities here on the island. It is a necessary place for any funds reserved for the community housing, including the transfer tax. And as our lawyer explained, it's a predicate for even kind of thinking about it. And it ensures that any monies expended from the fund have to be in line with our community housing plan. So that is mostly what I have. That's kind of like my overview of what we're considering. And then the next one is just a little plug for our advisory fund. So we talked a lot. Oh, I'm turning around. Sorry, Amber. So this summer, we are going to be working on our housing plan. And I just wanted to invite everyone to join us. We'll be doing some public input sessions. And we really want to have hear everybody's voices, and I'm really excited to see the things that we can come up with. So just be kind of on the lookout for that. You'll start to see that soon. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and contact me. All right. That's what I have for you, friends.
Liz, I have a question for Stephen.
Yeah.
Stephen, everybody on the town board ran on the platform of water and housing. And with the referendum, I know that we're obligated not to push for one way or the other, but how do we do that legally?
Well, no. You're just going to educate the residents about the law. You're not going to take a specific position, but you're going to educate the benefits of the proposed tax and or if there's any detriments to the proposed tax. So you're going to just put it all out there, and it is what it is. Obviously, by you proposing it, there's some intent to want it, but you shouldn't overtly be taking a side here.
And how about that housing board itself?
The housing board, they're charged with a mission. The housing, what do you call it? CHAB? What is it? CHAFAB. So CHAFAB is in essence, it was done a little prematurely, but it is a creature of this proposed local law. And their role is to work with the consultant, excuse me, work with the consultant to review and make recommendations on the plan. So once the consultant and CCHAB are finished with their work, they're gonna propose the plan to the town board. We'll have a public hearing, and we're gonna probably enact the plan as a local law and make it part of this section.
Okay. Chris, go ahead.
Just a couple of comments.
Yeah.
Number one, on the East End towns, with all the housing projects that have already come about, is there any attempt on the part of the 5 East End towns to take all the blueprints for those projects and circulate them amongst other communities in order to build up a stockpile of, might save us down the road? First of all, it generates a lot of new ideas and looks about what other towns are doing, which is good.
Yeah. So
Number two,
Mhm.
it also provides you with some type of savings in terms of engineering and having to start from scratch. There's if you end up with 25 or 30 or more of these, which easily could have already happened, it's nice to be able to browse through these things, be able to see what the cost was and what they look like and what the appeal is like. And so if the other East End towns would be willing to share that.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So we actually are, the 5 East End towns are in contact and sharing resources. In fact, in advance of this referendum, just to make sure, because obviously it's becoming more and more of a focus as we're all working on it. So we actually even have a monthly East End housing directors call where we're all connecting about all these issues, sharing resources, whether that's specifics around development or information and all that stuff. So we are in contact to just try to see, if one person has an idea for their town that might be useful in another town. That we're able to share. Like, again, that goes to kind of the collaboration for efficiency and cost effectiveness. So we definitely have an eye on that because we want to make sure that the money that we put into this fund goes as far as we can. So if one of the other East End towns has already done the work, we can kind of crib their notes.
My other comment is about Bowditch. Decades ago when the town took on the first major project here for community housing, the successes we've had, and a lot of us view it as a major success for the town. A lot of good stories that you can write about the people that have lived there, brought their kids up here, and what they've contributed to this town. Lessons learned. One of the things that I would like to anticipate is the people that are going to love to live in the past, love to go back, and love to sharpshoot you about what didn't work.
Right.
So I want to encourage you to look at the things that we've learned and to say, with these new safeguards,
right,
we're not going to make those repeated mistakes that might have been made, whether they're, and be able to address them. I think in a logical way, you end up diffusing a lot of that potential attacks oh,
Mhm.
yeah, well, they're going to cite just one story on Bowditch that they deemed as a failure. And
Mhm.
I just think it's, hey, listen, it's being proactive, looking
Yeah.
ahead, anticipating what's out there, because obviously there are 4 people that ran for office, and I'll end on this, and a
Mhm.
5th person that didn't run for office, but all 5 of us are this solid about community housing.
Oh,
It's not a question of
yeah.
whether this referendum goes through, it doesn't go through. And I think we pray to God that it does go through. But if it doesn't mean that we're not moving forward with community housing. It
Yeah.
simply means that we're at a disadvantage in moving forward. So we're hoping that this referendum is very positive and received well and sold, and people are educated, and that we can anticipate what the stumbling blocks might be out there and be able to take those stumbling blocks on in a good way,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that it's so great to hear. And I think we really feel the town's support for community housing. And I think, obviously as a voter and as a citizen, I have my own feelings about, I would like this referendum to go through. In my role here, it's really about educating folks. And, I think that people will respond to just kind of, it's a very, very reasonable plan. And so I feel like just showing people that understanding will kind of lead us to closer to the community housing situation that we want. And I wanted to just kind of address some of the stuff that has come back, has come up with past projects. So, you'll see as part of the plan that we have perpetual affordability. So that is written in, it is required. And there is work that we've done in my role at the Community Housing Board to kind of think about devices in which to kind of address that. So there's a bunch of different things that we can do. We're in talks right now, kind of exploring the idea of like land leases to keep things perpetually affordable. And so there's a bunch of other different devices, but that is definitely on our mind. Because we want to make sure to keep it affordable for generations to come.
Amen.
So we don't have to like reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Yeah.
Chris is the chairman of the housing board. Do you want to add anything, Chris?
Do I need to stand in?
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Hi, I'm Chris Diorio, and I'm the chair of the Community Housing Board.
You just said that.
I also sit on FAB. But basically, one of the big questions around housing has been, how do we fund it? I think that there's throughout the community, there's many people that fear an increase in their general tax load, their annual tax, in support of this. The transfer tax actually is a way to ensure that we don't need to do that. I think the biggest thing to think about with it is that it also gives us borrowing power more than the actual money itself. So what it could potentially be used for, because we're probably going to be making, I don't know, $500,000 a year or something like that off the 0.5%. And that allows us to borrow a pretty good amount of money. For me, more than anything, it's just this, right? The most basic way that housing works is you need money for it to happen. This gives us an opportunity to have that money. And that's, I feel like I'm happy to answer any specific questions, but to me, from the Community Housing Board stance, who is charged with creating housing on Shelter Island, this would be huge.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Chris and Liz, just so you know, maybe you already do know, Thursday in East Hampton, there's I have 4 tickets if anybody wants to go. It's a seminar on real solutions to the affordable housing crisis. So it's Thursday at 12 o'clock, 12 to 2 in East Hampton. So if anybody wants to go, just let me know.
There is one thing that I do want to say. So the other thing, and this kind of touches on what you were talking about with Bowditch Road, which I 100% agree was a success. The biggest thing to consider with this housing plan is that it has to be renewed at least every 5 years. So I think the biggest thing is whatever, we're working our hardest to try to make sure that whatever we do is a great and successful project. I think it's just important to realize, we're not locked into any one method that we choose. And we're going to be able to learn from any mistakes we make as we go. As you said, we're at a disadvantage. We haven't done this. We are definitely communicating a lot with the other East End towns. We've also been talking to other island places like Block Island and Martha's Vineyard. But it's just, none of this is set in stone as, well, what we come up with now is how it has to be. We have, it's mandated that we review it every 5 years and we can adjust accordingly. So if there's something that doesn't work, we can fix it and make it work.
Good. Thanks, Chris. Okay, next on the agenda is the Rams Head Inn dock application. I asked BJ and Jim to give us a little background on this, where we are and what we're doing.
Yeah, so I have a stomach ache. No.
Not from this. I know.
No, no. No, this has just been it's been a complicated and tough road because there are competing interests. That's just it. And we sort of have to acknowledge that and try to move forward. It began in August, the saga, with the original application for a rather large dock. Sort of, we're calling it the Gazebo Dock because it comes out from the gazebo that exists at the Rams Head Inn.
Right.
And that was a big dock with big floats, which is sort of, that's
BJ, you want
significant.
Christina to share this while you're talking?
Yeah, no, I think not.
Okay.
We made some corrections and
Yeah.
probably messy. I think I'm just going to focus on the floating dock aspect because it's sort of a proxy for the rest of the docks that have been proposed. So the floating dock proposed at the Gazebo Dock was 640 square feet. That's a large floating dock for this installation. And then we, Andrea, the owner at the Rams Head Inn, purchased the property next door. That has an easement to use a dock. We're calling the Bennett Dock, but the Bennett Dock is actually on the Rams Head Inn property. And when the Bennett sold the Rams Head Inn property, so I think I'm getting this right, they retained or put in the contract an easement to use that dock and to not have the Rams Head use the dock, which the Rams Head had been using the dock until the Bennett sold the Rams Head in the 70s.
You're right.
So it's kind of, so if we extinguish that easement, if the owner of both properties extinguishes that easement, the dock is just on the Rams Head Inn property. It sort of simplified everything, if you ask me.
Stephen has his hand up.
Oh, Stephen, go ahead.
I think he was resting. Oh, yes.
You're on mute.
That was a ghost hand raise. I didn't do that.
Okay.
All
I
right.
apologize for interrupting, BJ. You're doing a splendid job.
Thank you. And so once this transaction, everyone realized, and good location, let me just add, Bennett Dock is a really nice location because it takes the boat traffic that might be using this dock away from the beach, the swimming area that is used by Rams Head Inn guests. So from a safety point of view, this is a really nice solution, or potentially a nice solution. The original proposal by the Rams Head Inn was for a 520 square foot worth of floats. That was to bring the floats that exist at the dock that the Rams Head has historically used. Those are the floats that are over on the Causeway Dock. Just bring them over to the Bennett Dock, basically. Again, a bit large, perhaps. So constantly talking about this. So then we have another proposal for the dock, which is the one that's actually that's before us with plans, where the floats are now reduced to 480 square feet. So, and the overall size of the dock, again, has been reduced, the fixed portion, but I'm using the floats just as a way as a proxy. So here we are with that. Now, the WMAC had a special meeting last week and discussed this new proposal. And I would say the sense of the committee, without doing a formal vote, the sense of the committee was the Bennett Dock is a nice solution. The floats are too big to move over. And they would like, again, the sense of it, the face dock Bennett had floating docks there. They would like that face dock to be no more than 30 feet. And the square footage to be the original, what Bennett had there all these years, of 440 square feet. And so that's where we are. We've come from an original proposal of 640 down to 440, which also has the benefit of having been there for many years now. So I hope that's a good sort of,
That was excellent.
uh,
Absolutely excellent.
of where we've come to. You know, again, trying to respect the neighbors' objections here
Yeah.
and worries.
Yeah. And I think the other thing was that we were very uncomfortable with continuing the use of the Causeway Dock,
Oh, yeah.
basically because it was on our property. It was on town property. It was a legitimate mistake, perhaps decades ago, when that dock was built. But nevertheless, we wanted to make sure that that dock was no longer in use by the Ram's Head Inn. And the Ram's Head Inn people, and Andrea in particular, Ms. Carter expressed the safety of people walking up the road, particularly at night. It's a hill right there. People come flying down that hill. People are walking up. People have come back from dinner. It just was not a safe situation walking up that hill to the inn. So eliminating that dock. And as BJ just said, this Bennett Dock, for the future, it's located in an ideal spot right now. It's built, it's there. It can be slightly repaired and upgraded to meet the needs. It's 5 feet wide, which they feel is comfortable with for them to get people safely on and off the, from the floating dock to the mainland. It will require a little bit of a ramp, but so will anything, because obviously you're going from high ground down a steep embankment down to the water. But that's easy enough to build and construct. So for all those reasons, the town board has been looking at this. We've been working on this, but we are a little bit under the gun in terms of time because summer is fastly approaching. So here we are at the beginning of April. They probably were looking at like an early May, mid-May to try to get their business up and running. So we need to seriously sit down and make some decisions as sooner rather than later.
Well, which I think is to set the public hearing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that's
Decisions here
that's
from the
where we're at.
public. And
That's all we're doing.
that's all
today.
we're
We're not
doing.
discussing the application today. We're just gonna
Right.
set the hearing Friday night. Then at the hearing, we'll hear from
Yeah.
both yay and nay.
So
Okay.
just to be clear, we'll set the hearing on Friday, the 8th, but have the hearing on
Right.
April 29th,
Right.
just to be perfectly clear.
Yep. Okay.
Stephen, did you want anything added?
No, I agree with that process. You now have one application that's in front of you that was reviewed by the WMAC. It was a roll call sense recommendation from the WMAC that you can act upon. So yeah, it makes sense, set the public hearing at the next town board meeting, have the public hearing on the 29th, and allow anyone and everyone who would like to speak about it come and hash this out and finally resolve it one way or the other.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, next on the agenda, we have review business on town property applications. These are the permits that the businesses need to do business on town property. Traditionally, we have 4 at Crescent Beach and Shelter Island Kayaks as a couple of locations, mostly at Burns Road. Why don't we go down the list and do them as we have them here? Echo Discovery, this is from Mark Mobius. Nature of Business is outdoor natural history education for kids. And when Mark came before us, he explained to him that it's not a camp. It's just he has 5 to 8 kids a week, and they go to different locations. Some are CPF properties, some are nature preserve properties, some are just public properties. They go to Mashamik, they go all over. So he put in formally for to do business on town property. The only concern that we've seen is doing business on CPF lands, whether in fact that's allowed. I'll let you guys.
I'd like to chime in on that if I could.
Sure.
All right, so pursuant to section 50-6 of the town code and section 64-E9A of state law, the town law 64-E9A. The town shall administer and manage CPF lands which allows public use and enjoyment in a manner compatible with the natural, scenic, historic, and open space character of such lands. It's my opinion that allowing a resident of Shelter Island, albeit for profit, to expose children between the ages of 5 and 7 in a most passive manner to the island's natural resources is very much compatible with the aforementioned sections. This use does not prohibit public access. So just because he's using particular CPF land, others can use it simultaneously. And just because it's commercial in nature, it doesn't make it any less a public use. So that's my opinion as the CPF.
Okay,
What he said.
Meg, anything?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the fact that he doesn't exclusively use CPF properties and he's also going to the South Fork and the North Fork, and it's really just an educational opportunity for the kids. And in many ways, it kind of promotes CPF properties and it gets kids more involved and interested in visiting the CPF properties and, interested in conservation and nature. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay,
I can totally concur with that. My only concern is the insurance end of the things.
he's got that.
He's got
Well,
that.
that's
Everybody,
part of
yeah,
it.
yeah, it's
Okay.
part of the application.
So I think that's just to educate the people out there that the insurance is covered. So,
Okay,
but I think it's a great opportunity for kids, especially that age.
okay.
Is
Okay.
there room for a future discussion, though, just to put it in the back of our heads, maybe?
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
say, I want to keep an eye on this and
Yeah,
see
yeah.
I
if
do
it
too.
promotes
Yeah,
Mhm.
further,
Yeah.
envelope stretching. or,
right, right. Yeah, just that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the next one is Bonheur Supreme Spa. This is the massage on Crescent Beach. Last year, when we first got the application, I made a point of saying I was opposed to it. I thought it was kind of honky tonk. But when Alex came in and made his presentation, he said it was his 17th year in business.
Yeah.
And I told him, Eric Von Karp told me when I moved here that any business that's on Shelter Island that's in business needs to be here. And if he's been here 17 years, there's obviously a need or a use, for that business. So he's been here. He's no changes. Everything's the same as last year's application.
The only thing I would like to add to that application, and I don't know really what do I want to say, the mechanism for this, we discussed trash removal. I would like him to take his own trash to the
Okay.
dump.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would really like that to be a,
agree with
because
that.
those cans are overflowing.
Mhm.
And Brian mentioned he's going down there quite a bit during a weekend.
Yes.
And,
I agree.
and, other than that, I don't find it very obtrusive.
Okay.
No. Actually, we've received a lot of positive feedback from people that have used this, that
Yeah.
got massaged there and, got a good track record, let's put it that way. And if it wasn't for, and again, I think this is, all of these applications are reviewed annually. So that, that if somebody's track record goes offline and it does, does or doesn't comply with the request of what's in that permit, then I think it's time to, yank them.
Mhm.
We always have that annual
Right.
review.
Mhm.
Or at any time during the course of things. If there was any improprieties going on at any of these things, we would step in and act accordingly. But it is important to keep these, especially at Crescent Beach, I think, that we don't duplicate services and that we don't, we have felt comfortably for the last 5-6 years that 4 is a, good magical number that doesn't, it's not too much. And it seems to bring the things that we kind of want to bring there without some of the other stuff that has been proposed, this year. We're going to take a hard line on, we don't want retail shops opening up, selling all kinds of paraphernalia down at this beach. That's for sure.
Okay, with that said, we'll go to
Segues into the
Retail.
next application.
Good lead, good
hell of a
lead.
hell of a segue. Gold number 8 LLC, the nature of the business is direct to consumer customers,
Customizable.
right? Handbrake brands. You can see the collection at goldnumber8.com. Would you like to come up?
just listened to the housing project that's coming along, and I want to first introduce myself. My name is Ariane Gold, and my husband Jonathan's here with me. And first, I want to tell you that we fell in love with Shelter Island from the minute we stepped on it, and we have been like, our goal is to make this our permanent residence. We are here the majority of our time, and what we really want is to be integrated in the community, and we're not summer dwellers. We have spent the past 2 winters here, and we love it, and we love everything about it, and there's nothing that I personally would want to do to cheapen the island. So that's because I know how sacred the land is. All the land is here and the beaches. So I put in my application, and first I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am the founder of Gold Number 8, and everything I do is American focused. So I make all the product is made in Connecticut. I do all of the design work here on Shelter Island, and I want to have a presence on Shelter Island because I feel so connected with it. Obviously Crescent Beach is amazing. We spent some time there. We spent time at all the beaches, but I want to promote Gold Number 8 and show local businesses. Retail spaces are so incredibly expensive and hard to come by. It's really, really hard to build something when there's so many obstacles. So my proposal, and I want you to know I'm very, very flexible about the location on Crescent Beach, the times on Crescent Beach. I don't want to create any more congestion than there is on the beach, and I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Okay, so that's number one. So my proposal is to have a small footprint that would take up a car space. And it would be on a trailer that I would drive down in the morning, pick up in the afternoon. I want it to feel islandy. I don't want it to feel commercial. I don't want it to feel like a big brand. I want it to feel local. And it's flexible. So again, if we tried it in one spot and you found that it caused too much congestion, I would absolutely move it to another spot. And again, I'm flexible on the hours. If you find certain times of day it's just not conducive, that's fine. The idea is I really just want to get out there, and I want to build a business, and I want to represent local brands. And I'm actually really happy that the housing committee was on prior to me, because one of the things I wanted to talk about, and in my commitment to Shelter Island and in our objective to be full-time residents of Shelter Island, I also feel it's my responsibility to support the island. And I would propose that a portion of the sales go towards the community housing project or go towards land preservation. It's not all about just commerce to me. It's really about, awareness, the island, and helping the island, and being a really, valuable part of the community and getting involved in other parts of the community. So, I really appreciate you taking the time to review my application, and I understand the hesitation, but I would want to assure you that I'm not looking to commercialize. I'm looking to, create something that's Shelter Island based.
Thank you. Who wants to start? Meg, we'll go around the table.
I appreciate your sentiment with this, but I feel like the beach is probably not the most appropriate location. The Havens House does a farmer market every weekend, so you could look to get a booth there. They get a ton of people who come through, like hundreds of people come through that every weekend. And then I would also recommend talking to some of the shops on Bridge Street and see if they would carry some of your things, and kind of just work together with other businesses on the island that might have storefronts and see if they would put your stuff in their stores. Because I know some people who, there's a girl who makes candles, and
Mhm.
then other shops around the island will sell them for her and things like that. So I would kind of recommend reaching out that way and kind of trying to do it in conjunction with some other businesses that are established. Then there's also the craft fair in the summer as well. That gets a good turnout.
Jim?
No, I think, glad you went first, Megs. But I think my mind was as you were talking, and you did present yourself very, very well, by the way. I just don't know if the beach, is the appropriate spot. I don't know. We'd get up. I think as town board, we've been pressed a lot about even having 4 businesses down there, and they're specific in nature. I think once we start expanding that, I think we would get a lot more negative feedback from people, even though everything you pitched and everything that you said, and you can sense it's from the heart. This is not just somebody from off island coming in trying to peddle something. Meg's ideas are some good ideas initially for the summer. And if she hadn't said that, my one thing was, have you looked into alternate plans, either alternate location or existing storefronts as they,
I mean, as a small business owner,
Yeah.
I'm literally always looking. But this is my dream. Like, this is something that I have been living, breathing,
Yeah.
like this is something that I've been really, I don't know. This is like a dream.
Yeah.
This is like the epitome of what I want gold number 8 to look like. It's like this shelter island, cool, small
Mhm.
brand. I just want it to feel, and I feel like I do a lot of events and pop-ups, and I feel the best way for people to understand the brand is to see it, is to tell the story. And it's a really so I want to say it's like, obviously I'm in business to make money. But what I find when people experience it, and I would be there every day to talk about it and to, I'm the founder, right? But when people see the experience of what's involved, in person, not in a store, but as the brand, as a story, and sees how they can interact and create something, it's really it's such a cool experience. And I've dabbled in different retailers, and it just never does justice to, and I feel like this is a way that I could tell the story and excite people, and they get so into it. And yeah, I mean, yes. So the answer is yes. I've looked into a million different things, and this is, I don't know, a dream of mine.
The place at the Chequet, the store that they have across the way from the Chequet, have you touched base with
No.
her at all?
Mm-mm.
Might be something that she seems
Yeah.
to be open to a lot of new ideas and things. So I may suggest that might be a possibility
Okay.
for you to take a look at.
Mhm.
I think if you sat down with some people that have been here a while, you might be able to generate some other options
Mhm.
available to you though,
Okay.
other than just a beach area, to demonstrate your product.
Okay.
It's worth a shot anyhow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amber?
Yeah, I too unfortunately am not in favor of this one. Just, we've been limiting the activities at the beach to services as opposed to retail type things, except for the food cart, and that was an introduction due to COVID. Also, the fact of using parking spaces like that, also the food truck does take up parking spaces, but everybody else is on the beach. So I'm not in favor of taking away more parking spaces. Just, some days the beach does get full, and every space gets used. So I'm, for both those reasons, merchandise versus services.
get it.
And
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just to address that point, we wouldn't bring our own cars down. So while we
Right.
do have permits, we would not use our cars
Mhm.
on the beach while we have the trailer there.
Mhm, yeah, yeah, but I did in the application see that it was going to use up a couple parking spaces, so that concerned me as well as the not being a service.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure my opinion matters here because, you know, you already have a majority. But yeah, no, I don't want to set this precedent. That's really where I come down on this. You're familiar with Montauk, right? I mean, I think we're all trying hard not to become Montauk. And I'm not saying that you specifically
Mhm.
represent that future, but I think that granting this could be the beginning of that.
Okay. Is there anywhere else?
I would seriously
On public
suggest
land.
you look at the farmer's market.
Mhm.
They have
Yeah.
over 500 people a week average that go there.
I'm not going
And
to
that's
say.
expanded quite a
Yeah,
bit.
I'm not going to say who, but let me just interrupt you really quickly.
get-
Someone I know gave up a storefront. Didn't do it the same year, had a storefront, did the farmer's market, gave up the storefront. Said that was a waste of
Interesting.
money compared to, in terms of the money that this person made at the market in selling a retail
Okay.
item.
Well, you're gonna find me at the farmer's
multiple.
market. You've all like totally talked me into
A
it.
And,
multiple of
and
what
the
he
other
was
one I'd look into is the cornucopia.
Mm.
She is doing a lot of the local vendors,
Yeah.
you know, homemade products and
Okay,
yeah, I would definitely go to it.
okay,
And
cool.
reach out to the Shelter Island Chamber of Commerce too.
Yeah.
Because you may find a business that's willing to
That's a great idea.
do something, consignment or small space in their
Yeah,
footprint.
awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
Thanks for your
All
consideration.
right, thanks for
I
coming in
appreciate it.
and good luck with it. We
Thank
hope
you.
Yes.
things work out. Okay, next on the list is the Islander Food Truck. And again, just for everybody's information, this 2 years ago during COVID, the hotels and restaurants pretty much shut down. And the Islander asked if they could put a food truck at the beach. And we felt as long as there was no competition with the brick and mortars, that was fine. And last year they approached us and asked if they could do it again. And we felt that because Sunset Beach was open and even though it wasn't the same type of food, it wasn't proper. So we asked them, we directed them to move to the other end of the beach. And I guess it wasn't as great a location. They did okay, but they didn't do as well as they had hoped. So this year they made arrangements with Sunset Beach and Sunset Beach is fine with them going back to the original location. And Amber, just to make sure the public knows, they don't take up any parking spaces.
No.
We adjusted the parking. for them.
Oh, Right.
Yeah, we moved it. Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
into the no.
Yeah.
parking spot. Okay.
So I don't know if
Right,
anybody has
stand
any
corrected.
questions on this one.
No, just a positive comment that it was well received, in the old location 2 years ago in the summer of 2019, I guess it was, or
20.
2020, excuse me, 2020. It's in close proximity to the bathroom. It's going to be right in close proximity to the pavilion that we have next to the bathroom. So it's in an ideal location. And it does afford families of Shelter Island people that go down there. If you don't want to, bring sandwiches from home and everything else, you can easily buy, a hamburger, hot dog for the kids and a soda at a reasonable price and still enjoy a public beach, which I think is very, very important for families. I think it's a great idea.
Good. Okay. Moving on to the next is Kayak Shelter Island LLC. This is the Jay Damick's former kayak business that's been in business for a number, probably close to 20 years at least. Last year, the application wanted to be able to use Burns Road as their primary drop-off pickup. It's a very good business. They take care of the area. I don't have any questions with this one. Anybody?
No, no.
Okay. Okay, the next one is Ride Shore LLC. This is the shuttle service we have at the end of Crescent Beach to bring people that anchor their boat offshore. It's not an anchorage area, but it's outside waters and we don't really monitor it to bring them onto the beach to use the restaurant or the beach. There's a very specific area they can go to. It's not they can't just land anywhere on the beach. It's a very professional service. It's been in business for a number of years. I don't know. We actually had a second application that was going to have us make a discussion of how are we going to pick, if we have two people applying for the same, but the other one pulled out for some reason.
Oh, Sag Harbor launched.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
I was
That's,
just looking for that
Yep.
one.
so I probably, we should just touch base with the Sunset Beach. I don't know if we have any real concerns, but just
And
to
the
make
chief-
sure it's,
Ask the chief. His-
Oh,
Jim,
It
Chief.
looks like you have a representative from Rideshore here. Jerry, I would suggest you turn it over to him.
I don't see where.
Dave, you on?
David-
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yeah, David
okay.
Vitsky's on.
Yeah, we have been in touch with Sunset Beach and, we have 4 maritime graduates that signed on with us for this summer, and we just want to keep, the safety as our main concern, and try to continue to operate with, and stay in touch with the town and the Marine Police and make sure, that's our new main focus for this season. It's, everyone knows how it can get there sometimes. So we're trying to just keep qualified people, and, Sag Harbor actually reached out to us because they heard we weren't going to operate, and they spoke with me and my partner, and we are planning to operate. So that's why they pulled their application. So
Okay. Hey, David, last year the discussion came up a little bit about, who's actually operating the boats that, you have qualified people. How does that work?
we hire contractors, and these are all licensed captains, and 3 of them are graduates of SUNY Maritime. I'm alumni of SUNY Maritime, and these are guys that work in the industry, and they actually take their summers off to work for us. So they are, very qualified individuals. They are insured themselves, but we employ them as contractors.
Supervisor, that didn't come from us too. That came from a private party. Our bay constables check and verify the qualifications.
Right.
and Chief, to the best of my knowledge, when we had that meeting with Sunset Beach, we did discuss this. They didn't seem to have a problem with this, did they?
Not at all. I mean, the
Yeah.
Rideshore's been doing business down there for many years, similar to
Right.
Alex and from the massage. And we work with them, to ensure that they're operating safety. And there are times where they'll make calls to us and work with us to share information where things aren't working out quite well. I'm assuming, David, that you're going to work also with Sunset, as they are probably one of your larger vendors down there that you shuttle people back and forth for restaurant traffic. But between Rideshore, the police department, and the businesses on the beach, I think we all have to work together to make sure that we provide a safe environment. And I think we all equally do that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the other comment I had, Jim, was identifying high traffic times, that there might be even a second boat available. So in order to be able to take care of the increased need during that high traffic area, especially around weekends.
Our best intention
Okay.
is to
Any
operate-
comment on that? Dave, any comment?
Yes, sir. Our intention this season, we just purchased 2 more vessels to operate at the beach, is on the busy holiday weekends to run 4 captains and 4 boats. As long as our staff stays on board.
Right.
We, the staffing and keeping these, we have a good crew this year. Last year we had major staffing issues because Sunset wasn't supposed to open, and we were kind of last
Right.
minute finding crew. But now we're,
Mhm.
we have 4 guys, signed on full time, and I have a couple other part-time guys. But that's all could change. But as of now, we bought two more boats, and we plan to operate holiday weekends with 4 and regular weekends with 3 boats.
Great. Okay.
David, how are you thinking about the Pridwin now that it's going to open?
I am not really sure yet. I mean, I don't know. That can be kind of a mess sometimes with people anchoring in front of there and at Crescent Beach. So I don't know. We could offer. I mean, if we can help out any way we can, I wouldn't mind talking with the new owners of the Pridwin. So
Okay, I'm just going to sort of say that what we're approving is not the Pridwin.
Right.
Okay.
Just for now. I mean, but if
gotcha.
if your thoughts change, come see us, come
Okay.
to talk to
And-
us. But just saying this is pretty limited, and that's going to be different this year. The fact that the other end of the beach will be open.
Correct.
EJ,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're
Yeah.
authorized there anyways. We're authorizing operation on town property. The
Right.
Pridwin, we don't have a town stake there.
Good point.
Okay.
Yeah,
That would be the
yeah.
dock.
Yeah, it'd be like a launch.
It'll be their dock, right,
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
I have a quick question about when you've got 4 boats operating, because you're going to be operating, I guess, at the end of Shore Road, pulling into the town landing there. So you're going to, even with 4 boats, you're going to maintain that as your drop-off point, not expand, correct?
No, yeah, we are set up to keep one drop-off point.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, just checking.
All right, David, the only other thing, and because you're here, we'll notify everybody else, you have to update the insurance policy.
Okay.
The certificate of liability is dated last year.
We will get that too.
I think it's a standard thing, but yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, I think the safety record, David, has been important, and anything to add to safety at that potentially could be you could have a severe accident down there, especially with alcohol involved and everything else.
Yes,
So,
sir. And
with the amount of
and-
traffic that comes in
yeah.
and out of there, I look at this as not as a luxury, but something as almost as a necessity to make sure that people come and go in a safe manner to and from their watercraft onto the beach and get returned properly. So I look at it as a major, major safety issue.
Yes, it's logistical nightmare sometimes, but it's
All right.
what we do.
Okay, thanks, David.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, the next is not on the agenda, but I forgot to put it on, quite honestly. Venture Out is Matt Stromberg's rental business. Matt's been in business 12 years on Shelter Island. He's a big asset to us, not only in serving the public, but he helps keep the beach clean and
Yeah.
keeps his eye on things for us. Matt, you want to say anything? You there, Matt? There you go. It's all yours, Matt.
His mic's not working.
Your mic's not working. Matt, the only change I see is you're requesting to keep a storage container at the beach. And it's the same one that the lifeguards use. It's not something we have done in the past. I'm not sure. And I understand probably why, because I see, in the morning, I want to see unloading the truck and loading the truck at the end of the day, and it's quite a project. So I don't know if everybody got to see this one.
Jerry, just while we're waiting for Matt to figure out his system there, it's one of the topics I was going to bring up at the end of the discussion today. There always seems to be some expansion of space down there, and we kind of it just evolves. The first year they have a 10 by 10 tent, and next year it's a couple feet bigger, and then somebody adds a little something, and we don't backtrack. I'd really like to see us approve plans and stick with the plans approved and submitted. I will have our staff follow up to make sure that's what's going to happen. I haven't seen some of the plans, but as Amber started to discuss with 4 boats coming into the beach, that their presence on the beach for David and Rod Shore, the massage tent, and we worked with Alex, and that had a way of expanding to 2 tents and maybe 3 tents, and so, and same thing with Matt. We have a great working relationship with Matt. He's eyes and ears on the beach for us. But with that said, they all seem to grow a little bit each year, and that would be my concern for our residents and other people that use the beach, is keeping that expansion from almost a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mhm.
My microphone's working. Can anyone hear me?
There you
Go
go,
ahead,
sure, Matt.
Hey, sorry about that. Real quick, my AirPods would not connect. Chief Reed, I totally agree. We haven't expanded in about 12 years. We keep our same footprint, but yes, we do offer more equipment rentals, and our business has grown. The proposal, like I said, this is not a deal breaker or anything. We'd like to operate as normal. But at the end of last season, I just had this epiphany. Why am I transporting between 30 and 50 to 60 life jackets down to Crescent Beach every single day? And the safety equipment that our lifeguard trained staff and CPR trained staff uses comes down every single day. What this would do would alleviate, even during business days, of a second vehicle or a second trip coming down to Crescent Beach. It is something that, like I said, it's not a deal breaker. I thought of it at the end of last season. It does make sense. And when I saw what the lifeguards are using, it would be identical to it. And it's something that, like I said, I'm not going to be storing anything in there rental equipment wise. It's purely just for safety and medical items that we bring to transport every single day. So that's the only thing that's different from our business plan for the past 12 years.
So a lockbox up against the bulkhead, Matt?
Lockbox against the bulkhead, just for safety purposes, probably like screwed into the bulkhead from the inside. Something, I wish I had measured the lifeguards box at the end of last season, but I did take those photos that are in my packet. It's, I guess, like a 3x5 or something like that. And I guarantee it, once something like that is installed, you would never even notice it's there, you know, in future times or throughout the summer. No one's going to be like, oh, look at that ugly lockbox there. So it's definitely something that is deviated from what we do by, you know, setting up and removing everything every single day, all summer long, which all of you have seen us doing in the mornings, and all of you have probably seen us doing in the evenings. It just allows us to not transport the same identical items every single day that we use for safety reasons on the beach. We're there past when the bay constables are on the water. We're there past when the lifeguards are there. We're there before the lifeguards. We're there before the bay constables. All of our staff is lifeguard, CPR, adult and pediatric certified. And these items are something that we use on a daily basis. The life jackets, yes, are for the rental purposes, but not everyone is the same shape, size, or age. So that's why there's always so many that come down. But the other items have saved people before from, you know, crab hatchings and covered in jellyfish stings and so on. So that's the only item that is sort of deviated from what we propose to the town every single year.
Thank you, Amber, for putting that up. I mean, for me, from a professional and safety perspective, I don't see that being an issue, really. I think it gives us equipment. It kind of splits the beach. Matt is probably, you know, another third of the way down from where we keep our current safety equipment. Matt, it might be something where we could work with you. If we needed access to it, we could gain access, but it's something the town will have to consider from stuff on the beach. But from a safety perspective, I think there's some merit to what you're saying. And there is a lot of merit to what you're saying about being out there both before and after our lifeguards go home.
I concur with that, Jim. I think, you know, because of the nature of what's being stored there, I think it makes, you know, I think we try it out for the summer of 2022 and, you know, reevaluate it at the end of that year. But again, when you're talking about safety equipment, not lugging it back and forth and having it on site right then and there, I think that's a positive thing.
Matt, I would just want to talk to Brian Sherman to get his approval before we actually give you the okay on it, okay?
Here's my
Okay,
concern.
absolutely.
Yeah, the cleaning of the beach.
Yeah, my concern is we allow Matt to have one, then are the other three that we're approving also going to make the same request?
Yeah, if it's a
Not the nature-
defibrillator, yeah.
Not unless they're putting safety equipment in
Right,
there.
right.
Yeah,
not
I
for-
just, you know, the precedent of, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I
one
get it.
vendor gets to store something, the other three could make a valid request and like they could put in a fire extinguisher for, you know, the
Yeah.
food truck and, you know, make the same case for some of
Mhm.
similar type equipment, but not all exactly the same. I'm just tossing that out there
I hear you.
because
Again, nothing.
Well, I think what we can do is, you know, just as we gave the approval for the food truck the first year.
Right.
So let's try it for a year.
Mhm.
So Matt, I know it's an investment on your
With
part to
Brian's.
buy it, but let's say that we're going to try it this year, not a given every year.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, like I said, this was an idea that came up at the end of last summer. the items that'll be stored in there, yes, are going to be used there every day. But like, this might have not been a good idea. This might be a great idea. So let's definitely try it out for the summer and just see how it goes. I am 100% open to that, and can always use a shed on my property too in the off season. So,
Matt, are you freeing a parking space by doing this?
excuse me, sorry, Chief. What'd you say?
Are you freeing a parking space? I know sometimes you have several vehicles down there. Are you freeing a space, not having to move another vehicle down there with equipment? Because there is a little equipment wall there.
Yeah, we always have the one vehicle, the vintage truck is down there. That is our primary vehicle. The only other vehicle we bring down is if it's a large group that requires a second vehicle. But we've never even asked the town for a parking space. We always kind of just make it work. And then towards the end of the day and in the morning when people are running, jogging with their babies and whatnot, you'll always see us. We do put out 2 traffic cones to make sure we're all safe down there, loading and unloading, bypassing traffic. But we generally only use a space, and we've never asked the town to basically give us a space. So we just kind of make it work. But it's that one space. Obviously, we'll always have one space down there that we'll be parking in. And the second space is really non-existent unless it's just a large group that comes down. We do everything with one vehicle mostly, but we do have a second vehicle if needed.
So is everybody okay with this? If it's okay with Brian? Give it a
Yeah,
year's
if
trial.
it's okay with
All
Brian.
right.
Give it a try.
Matt, the only other thing is the same as ride shore. Just make sure the insurance is updated, okay?
Yeah, it expires.
Absolutely. We're good. We're good as of now till May 1st. We're still in
Right.
April, and my company is already, May 1st will be renewed, and I will submit to Mr.
Great.
Lagar immediately the new insurance.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Just to be clear with Matt before he goes away, Matt, I know in prior conversations, you mentioned that you use other town properties, that this permit isn't just for Crescent Beach, right? Are you still using other locations to venture out?
We load and unload at locations. We do not set up full-time at any other location.
Okay.
Crescent Beach is the only 7-day-a-week operation, but we do drop off at any town landing. I know the parking situations have changed at a lot of the dead ends and town landings and whatnot, but it's usually just needing a car for someone to go kayaking or something like that. So we do not set up physically every day at any other location 7 days a week. The only 7 days a week location we set up is at Crescent Beach.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay. That's it on the agenda. We'll go around the table. I'll start. Got a notice from the library that this Friday, April 8th, from 10 to 2, they'll have the COVID-19 vaccine booster. Now, I don't know if this is the 4th one or if it's the second, whatever number we're up
The
to,
second bus-
or if it's the
booster.
second booster shot,
Fourth shot.
or if it's just a regular booster. But it's going to be this Friday, and I don't think you had to make appointments.
Do we know how many
Just walk
shots
in.
they got?
I just is all I got.
Okay.
Just that they're
This is
doing it
at the library.
at the library, Friday, the 8th, from 10 to 2. Okay, that's all I have. Meg?
So I've got a few different things. The first is I'm going to be setting up a meeting with the town clerk's office and the building department to streamline the special permit and wetlands process for processing the applications. Because when Lori left, there's now that who is doing the initial review, and so we're going to streamline that. So I'm going to set that up for either sometime this week or early next week, so we can kind of get everything back on track. Otherwise, we're rolling ahead with the comp plan,
Mhm.
and that's sort of what I got.
Okay. Jim?
Yeah, deer and tick tomorrow is 10 o'clock. Jerry, you gonna?
Yep.
Because I'm gonna be at the PEP.
Mhm.
Got my first big
Oh,
2-hour.
running the meeting.
10 a.m. to 12 p.m., which I am running the meeting, so taking on this new role. So as long as you cover that, I
Yep.
think one of the important things we'd like to hear about is the
Flyover,
flyover,
yeah.
the results of the flyover.
Mm.
I will wait till next week to do the comprehensive, the capital planning grants committee, because we had the meeting this morning, very hard in between meetings to get all the notes together. So I'll report on that next week. The WMAC meeting last night was a fairly good meeting. Just go over those results with you very quickly. Met last night at 6 o'clock. We had a full complement of people there. All 7 members eventually were online. We talked about 4 mooring applications, Amico, Fagan, Gillen, and Griffiths. They were all passed by unanimous or one abstention, so, that they all went through. BJ was kind enough to explain to the committee the difference between a recusal and abstention. I think they were using the terms interchangeably, but obviously BJ kind of set them straight on that. So that was good education. Item number 5 was on the Shelter Island Public Works dock. We talked about that as well at Volunteer Park. We spent quite a bit of time actually on that new dock, and that's specifically for the fire department and police departments. And originally they wanted to bring it to there was talk about putting it right in the middle of Volunteer Park, and then you're really a little bit too close if you put boats on the east side of that dock and the adjoining dock. So they wanted to put it all the way on the west side. And there was some discussion and pros and cons about putting it right there at the furthest spot west that you could put on facing north, or moving it over 7, 8 feet, 9 feet to another post, which eventually I think the committee came around to wanting to do. And the reason for that was you can literally, according to Mike Englund, who's had so much familiarity with the docks, the winds and the storms, his advice was to put both the police boat and the fire boat on the west side of that dock, regardless of where you put it. If you put both of them on the west side, it does close down that little bit of channel and the flushing in and out of Chase Creek, and the dock itself may do a little bit of that. This allows you the freedom by moving it over 7 or 8 feet to open up that area a little bit more for better flushing. It also allows you 2 things. You can park the boats both on the west side. You could put one on the west side, one on the east side, and still have a greater distance between there and the adjoining dock.
How would you put them both on you have to raft them?
No, it would fit. They overhang a little bit on the back and the
More
front.
than a little bit,
Yeah,
though. See,
yeah.
that was the problem. There's 50 feet of boat and there's 40 feet of dock.
Right,
So, and you don't want to nose the one boat right
Yeah.
up to the other boat.
right.
So I'm not sure, except in extreme circumstances,
Right,
what they were
correct.
saying with, heavy
Right.
weather, maybe you'd want to, but maybe in heavy weather, you wouldn't even keep one of the boats there.
Right.
Move it to another. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there was that, but yeah, it's not 7 or 8 feet. It's just moving from the corner where it is right now, Jim.
Yep.
Over,
One
to the
post.
next set of pilings.
Yeah, I
in
went there this
between.
morning. It's actually very short distance.
That was the
Yeah,
recommendation.
that was the recommendation. And we talked about, putting both one on the east side, one on the west side, which,
Right.
and then we talked about, people brought up about the use of bringing dinghies in there. And I think BJ and I tried to steer the committee away from that kind of idea, particularly in year 1.
Yeah.
There was some talk about even putting a gate going out from Volunteer Park.
But yeah,
out
we're
to
gonna
the
have a
dock.
gate.
All right,
Yep,
so, yeah,
we're gonna
I
have a
think,
gate.
I think that's not a bad
We're gonna have
idea, only
surveillance.
because I would definitely see people walking out on that. I could definitely see people boarding those boats if they were tied up there. I think it's just a good idea from a safety point of view, and a practical point of view, to have a gate up there between Volunteer Park and the entrance to the dock area.
We'll be able to work out those details, even shifting it a little bit, BJ. We can work on that. The other point that you mentioned is, look, it's not going to be the primary location for the police boat side. It will be for the fire. So during certain low tides or storms, we can shift around. It's why we'll have 3 locations. It's great coverage for the island for us. So
That
we'll
is
be
an
able to make
excellent
those
point, Jim.
adjustments.
And that was brought up again last night.
Yep.
And BJ, I think being married to it, said, let's let the fire department and police department determine some of the rules
The
of what's
usage.
going to happen down there rather than us, as an
Excellent point.
WMAC. So we definitely wanted to set everybody straight there about, let's not get too involved with how this dock is going to be used. It's going to be used by the town. The other thing was about getting in and out of the harbor, that if there was an emergency, a police boat or a fire boat zooming out of the harbor, and Peter Vielbig happened to be on the call as well. He said, by the way, we don't do that. We would go out, obviously, probably a little faster than 5 miles per hour, but we're not going out crazy, zooming across in between boats. Safety is still important, even when you're on a safety call, that you exit a harbor, enter the harbor and exit the harbor in the right manner. The other thing he brought out that was a good point last night that none of us knew is that the increased number of calls on that side of the island, on the north and northwest side of the island, between Shelter Island and Greenport, had increased significantly. And having this location afforded them just what Chief Reed just said, the idea of being able to have now 3 different locations where we are on town property, on a town dock where we can exit from. So I think that was all taken into consideration. So everybody supported it, in the end result, and voted, I think it was 501 to support that. We then talked about the Shelter Island Heights Property Owner Corporation dock application to replace in kind in place, and there was some discussion about whether that was absolutely true. The existing dock is, I think,
They're
8
going
by
to
8.
add benches.
Yeah, well, they're going to add benches, and the bench, by the way, and the safety of a lifeguard stand at the end of that thing, which was kind of important. So after all was said and done, we spent again a lot of time because we love to talk. And we voted 6-0 to support that. And the last one was the old business, was the Coppins dock application. And we spent quite a bit of time. Costello was there for that. So were the owners. We did have one of the neighbors, and then left of course, the meeting went on a little longer than they thought. We were talking about going from 106 feet to 112 feet, that extra 6 feet. But rather than going perpendicular to the seashore, we were going at a slight angle. And to get to that desired 2.5 feet of water, you obviously have to go an extra 6 feet because you're going at an angle as opposed to straight out. So as the angle bends, the distance bends. It's a slight thing, but it does get it away from the nonconformity of being too close to the neighbor's property line. So again, we voted on that, and that passed 501 in favor of that. So all in all, it was a good meeting. We did talk about this 100-foot arbitrary distance for inside waters, and BJ brought up a good point and said, listen, if we go, and I think Mr. Garrity is very big, some of the members of the committee are very big on, we need to follow the code to the letter of the law. And, this is, we're not talking about going out, 125 feet, 150 feet. We're talking about putting 6 feet on to correct a slight problem that we've had in the past. It's a minor issue, and so it eventually all passed.
Jim, did they discuss all the applications that were hearings for Friday?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I mean, the ones that we have,
I haven't actually checked.
either
on
that or
this,
we've
sorry.
approved them before.
Okay.
I think we're
Yeah.
okay.
Good.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also though, last night, back to the town dock application, if we do move it over one set of pilings, it was suggested the DEC be informed. It wouldn't hang it up, the application, but it would just be a good form to do that. There were problems again pointed out last night that the system online mooring is, again, for, some maintenance issues of the database was not showing the correct number of moorings in an area where a mooring was being considered. So again, something we're working on, something that's going to take a bit of time to get straightened out, but I just sort of
How do
just
you
wanted
do
to
that?
point that out. What's
You have
that?
to go out and count them more. How do you do it?
Well, yeah, yeah, I think pretty much. And what I want to say, an inventory was done last fall by the police by the Bay Constable. So that could be a start.
Okay.
And also people just pointing it out. This was Mike Englund saying, look, and I know there's 7 moorings
right.
there and there's only showing 5. So, and it was an area without a lot of moorings.
Right.
And, you know, again, if for further down the line for the WMAC, let's talk about, you know, where we're going to max out on moorings, you know, for every single
wanted to
anchorage
know
that
that,
we
yeah.
have. The other thing is, Bill Garrity brought up 2 things. One was last night, to review the code. We now have a new town dock that we're considering,
Right.
and that should be added to the code because we're
Correct.
specific in the code about our town docks.
Right.
So that one needs to be added, which I've made note of. And then he sent us today that in the town code, there was a hitch in the giddy up in terms of something that should be in there has been left out. I haven't had time to examine the email. It came late in the day today. But just to know that's coming down the pike. So again, the WMAC, you know, sort of impresses with its knowledge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
And the last thing I had, I just want to thank the reporter for last week's article. You know, actually, I guess it's, last week's. They kind of applauded the town board in terms of ethics and the vets tax break and the foil and the different things that are happening. I do want to comment on the one thing that was said about the ethics committee when he said something about the town board decided this seemingly out of the blue. I just wanted to say one comment. We are evolving, and I do think that the new town board, which contains both Meg and BJ, have embraced this from the very beginning about the ethics committee. I think both Amber and I and Jerry are fully in support of this. I think it's something that's probably, well overdue. I see them being as an important asset to this town board, not just being on things that refer to them, but also being proactive in terms of guiding the town board or on issues, sensitive issues as we move forward. So, I think it's, and I also think that, Bob DeStefano was always an advocate for the ethics. I think since having Steve and Kylie on board, as our new town attorney, I think Stephen has really looked at this and sold us, all 5 of us, the fact that the need for an ethics committee. And the last thing I have to say about the ethics committee, which I think all 5 of us can embrace, is the interviews sold me. The best selling point for why we needed was the interviews themselves. The people that came before us during the process, they were so good. Even the people that didn't get appointed were pretty good, and they offered a lot of great suggestions on their purpose and how they would be used. And we have these assets within town. Why not use them? They're free of charge, and I think they're going to help us in the long run. So, and thank you very much for a positive article. We do appreciate that positive press once in a while. Thank you.
Amber?
Yeah, we already got a presentation on community housing, so I won't discuss that any further. West Neck Water met on Friday at 6 o'clock to discuss the rate structure. And it was Joe Picorni from Suffolk County Water Authority came in person and talked about the infrastructure upgrades that were going to take place. And then we made a presentation. I am not allowed to do PowerPoint presentations anymore. So, because I crammed in a lot of information about rate structures, which is on the town website under the committee's page, West Neck Water Board, so that people can take a look and start to figure out, looking at their bills, what the implication would be on their bills for the new rate structure. The rates are going up, the access fees are remaining the same, and there is going to be some money taken out of reserves in order to offset the rate increase to cover the debt service surcharge that's needed. So that's out there. We had some attendance from the West Neck Water ratepayers, Friday night, whether it's, just a hard time to get people to participate, or if they just, I talked to somebody at the ferry the other day and she said, I'm just going to pay whatever I have to pay, so I don't need to go to the meeting. So that's how some people feel. So, but it's out there and people can start to look at it. The contract should be looked at this week, so we can start to get that finalized. And the new rates won't go into effect until the contract is signed. So people will be getting, West Neck Water customers will be getting bills maybe this week. And so it'll still be under the old rate system, but we're going to put in some enclosures so that people can look at the schedule to see what the future looks like, as well as what Suffolk County Water Authority bills will look like versus the old billing system.
I can't remember. Is there a new deadline on the getting that contract signed, or was it open-ended?
It's open-ended.
It's open-ended. Okay.
Yes, Stephen's shaking his head. No, I think because we're acting in good faith, they've extended it. So we're just trying to continue pushing to get it
Right,
done. So
Right. We're not dawdling. Yeah.
yes. Yeah. So that's all that I had.
Okay. BJ?
No,
Nothing?
I just added it, my WMAC
Okay.
comments. That was-
Steven, you have anything for us?
No, but just to piggyback on what Amber said, I am in receipt of the latest contract, well, lease rather, the lease agreement. And, we should be able, like Amber said, within this week, take some action on it.
Okay. Dottie, you have anything for us?
Not at this time, no, thanks.
Want to give us a report on the wedding?
It was beautiful.
I bet it was.
The
Still waiting to
weather
see
was
pictures.
nice. Everything was good. Very good.
Good. Very good.
I just want to
Let's
say,
do it
Dottie,
again.
No.
But Dottie, while you were gone, your office was terrific, very helpful, and just, it was nice. They didn't miss a step.
Well, that's good. They didn't miss me then, huh?
No, they
Oh, you
missed
trained them well is what we're saying.
No, they're very good
carried the
workers, so I felt confidently,
Very nice.
Okay, I'll open up to the audience. Anybody have any questions?
I don't see any hands.
I don't see any hands. Oh, I see one. Pam?
Unmute. Can I stop my video too? Hi, everyone. Yeah, I just have a question regarding the Ramshead Inn dock application, actually, or maybe more than one, but first of all, what came up in the meeting the other night was whether or not this was viewed as a commercial or a private dock. This was Mr. Zinger's concern. Mr. Ween's concern was whether what in kind and in place meant. And my concern is that there are no permits in place. I don't see that the town has done their diligence to do the secret designation in writing so that we know how the town feels about this project. And now that it's changed a few times, I think that's really important. The DEC does not have a permit. There are no no permits from any of the regulating agencies here. And will those be in place prior to this public hearing that is now scheduled for April 29th? And the other permit that also seems to be missing in the application is the town wetlands permit, which would also come into place because the 70-foot ramp that's going over the wetlands and vegetative buffer needs to be addressed. And there's also a variance issue because it's AA zone residential. So.
Okay. We will discuss that at the hearing, I guess.
So the WMAC did not actually vote on this application. Will they be doing that? Because they did not take a formal vote the other night. That was just their opinions given.
I think that we're taking their opinions into consideration.
Will they then be required to vote? They were looking for guidance from you. That was my opinion from the end of that meeting. They were looking for guidance from the town board, and then it would go back to them with your guidance, and then they would in fact vote on this application.
No, the way it's going to be, like, the law says they have to, shall give a recommendation. As you noted, they didn't have enough information to make a formal recommendation. So it was basically a roll call sense recommendation where they polled the different members and they gave their 2 cents on the application. So that's what's going to be in front of the town board as far as the WMAC is concerned.
So does that mean the town board is just accepting those opinions as an actual vote then?
Just like with any recommendation, whether it's like tomato, this is their each individual recommendation. They didn't have, a unanimous decision either way to support it or not support it. And the questions that you brought up will be dealt with at the public hearing. That's the only
And when-
mechanism. That's the only mechanism the town board has to address those issues. The applicant will come in and make its case. The public will come in and make comments, and the town board would take that into consideration in answering the questions that you posed. And as far as other approvals, historically, there have been other situations where the town board can proceed and make it subject to receipt of different approvals. And that's the tack that we're taking here. Just because.
Okay, but under the state law, this really is designated as a major project because of the square footage of that 70-foot ramp alone that's going over the wetlands. So therefore, it should go to the DEC because this entire project is within the DEC's jurisdiction under Article 25. The entire project is within that boundary. So if you ignore the fact that they may or may not approve of this, I don't see how that's proper process here.
No. So it would be subject to DEC. So if we, let's say, approved what was presented and the DEC denies it, it's subject to approval from the DEC. So then ours would be of no moment because the DEC didn't approve it. So it's subject to. So we're gonna go ahead on our review. DEC is gonna do their review. If the DEC denies it, it's denied because it's subject to DEC approval.
Okay, so then I guess my real question is how is the town board going to review this as a private dock on inland waters or as a commercial dock now servicing commercial moorings?
Well, that's.
So I can prepare. I mean.
No. I'm getting there. It's unfortunately, as it's come up several times, this is a hybrid situation. It's a little different. So the town board is going to open it up to the public to make, people will come in and say it's a commercial dock. People are going to come in and say it's a private dock. And then the town board's going to have to weigh those arguments and make a decision. So that the forum for this is going to be the public hearing. So and we welcome you and welcome everyone to come in and make their case pro or against this application. But I think that's what we're going to do with this now, right? Town board?
Yeah, we're gonna set the hearing Friday. Yeah.
And we've also, reached our.
Okay.
3 minutes club.
May I just ask one more question then? How are we going to look at this as the use of this dock? That seems to be the question then, is what will be the actual use? And if the use of this dock becomes more expanded from what the Ramshead Inn has been using the town dock for, is that going to be taken into consideration?
No, I believe the purpose of this public hearing is to make that determination, right? So it's going to be, you'll have that opportunity to make the case and the town board will have to absorb that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion. We go into executive session to discuss some litigation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks, everybody.